Right after my dad's funeral, the will named my mom as the homeowner. That's the line I can't get out of my head. We were still in black, rain drying on our coats, when the probate attorney slid the papers across the table and said, "Margaret Hale, sole owner." My mother stared at the words like they might vanish. I squeezed her hand under the conference table and pretended the room wasn't spinning. I'm Nora Hale, 31, and until last week I still believed grief makes people gentler. Then my brother's wife walked in with a newborn and a locksmith. The attorney, Mr. Patel, had just finished explaining utilities and taxes when the glass door swung open. Kelsey stood there in a cream coat, hair slick from drizzle, a bundled baby in her arms. Evan trailed behind her, looking hollow. "We're here for the keys," she said. "Noah is Dad's son. The house belongs to his heir." Silence crackled. Mr. Patel blinked. "Mrs. Hale is the surviving spouse. The will is explicit." Kelsey smiled like she'd practiced in the car. She produced a stamped letter and placed it on the table. Paternity acknowledgement. Thomas Hale is listed as the father. Effective immediately, will assume possession to protect the asset. Outside, a van door slid. The locksmith walked up the hallway with a tool bag. My mother's throat clicked. "Kelsey, your baby was born 3 weeks after your wedding. Thomas was in hospice for months. That's not your call," Kelsey snapped. "He wanted his son cared for. Evan told him everything. Evan wouldn't meet my eyes. I stood so fast my chair scraped. Put the letter down and step away from that door." Mr. Patel's voice stayed even. "No one is changing locks today. If you claim a child of the decedent, the court decides, not a hallway contractor." He turned to the locksmith. "Sir, please leave." Kelsey's jaw flexed. "The doorbell cam saw you slam it in my face when I came to tell Margaret privately," she said, loud for the benefit of the waiting room. "We'll show the judge." I stared. Our doorbell cam had, in fact, seen something, just not what she was implying, because 3 hours earlier, at 6:42 a.m., Kelsey had walked up our porch, pressed the bell, glanced both ways, and pulled an envelope from her pocket. She held it to the lens, then swapped it for a second envelope with a different header before tucking that one back into her coat. She knocked only after the switch. The clip auto-uploaded to my phone while I made coffee for Mom. I hadn't told anyone yet. Grief had me moving slow, but not blind. "Kelsey," I said, "you'll get yourself charged for trespass if you don't stop." She cradled the sleeping baby tighter. "Oh, so now you want to throw out your baby brother?" "He isn't my brother," I said, heat in my cheeks. And Thomas could barely swallow ice chips in August. He wasn't fathering children in September. Evan flinched. Mr. Patel folded his hands. "Here is what happens," he said. "If you intend to allege paternity, file with the probate court. The judge may order DNA testing. Until then, Margaret remains in possession, per the will." Kelsey's smile thinned. "Then we'll file today." She pivoted, waved the locksmith away, and left the letter behind like a grenade. We sat in the quiet after the elevator shut. Mom's shoulders shook. I wrapped her in both arms. Mr. Patel exhaled and passed me a tissue box. "Don't speak to them without me," he said. "Forward any documents, and Nora, download every clip from that camera." At home, rain tapped the porch railing. I made tea while Mom showered grief off her skin. Then I opened the Doorbell app and scrubbed frame by frame. Kelsey's stamped letter filled the screen. Department of Vital Records, acknowledgement form, Thomas Hale typed as father, but the infant bracelet peeking from the carrier read a different hospital than the stamp. The timestamp on the bracelet's barcode sticker was 2 days later than the notarization seal. 2 clocks, 2 stories. A text pinged from Evan. "Please don't make this worse. Kelsey is scared. We just need the nursery room for a while." I stared at the words until my phone dimmed. Then I forwarded the clip to Mr. Patel and called him. He picked up on the second ring. "Nora, I have video. The envelopes don't match. The hospital bracelet doesn't match the stamp." "Save everything," he said. "We'll petition for a protective order and a hearing. If there's a real claim, the judge will order DNA. If it's smoke, this ends fast." I set my phone down and walked to Dad's study. His sweater still hung on the chair back. His pen lay where he'd left it the day hospice admitted him. The room smelled like cedar and coffee. I pressed my forehead to the doorframe and counted breaths until my hands steadied. Mom came in with damp hair and a stubborn attempt at lipstick. "Do we have to see them again?" "Only in court," I said, "and we'll be ready." The doorbell chimed. I checked the porch feed, saved each clip. I opened the door to find Deputy Marsh at the stoop with a folded notice. Kelsey had filed an emergency petition claiming immediate risk to the decedent's child. The deputy was polite, apologetic even, but his words still chilled. "Ma'am, the court set a hearing for Friday at 9. Until then, don't engage." After he left, Mom and I sat at the kitchen table with calendars and highlighters like we were planning a school fundraiser instead of a legal defense. Mr. Patel called back with instructions. Print the video frames, keep the originals on a thumb drive, and bring your phone. Chain of custody matters. I'll handle the protective order. Mom traced the rim of her mug. "I fed Kelsey soup when she had the flu," she whispered. "Your father paid their rent twice last year. Why do this?" I squeezed her hand. "We'll answer in court." That night, I replayed Dad's last weeks. Baseball on low volume, his fingers tapping time to the play-by-play, the way he squeezed my wrist before the morphine pulled him under. At 8:54 a.m. Friday, we entered Department 12 with Mr. Patel. Kelsey came in with a carrier. Evan trailed. Their lawyer, Mr. Lyle, wore a glossy tie and a shark's grin and called Noah, the infant heir. Judge Romero took the bench. "We have possession and paternity. Counsel, Mr. Lyle." The decedent acknowledged this child. "We seek possession to prevent waste." Mr. Patel: "The will gives the house to the widow. The acknowledgement is suspect. Deny possession and order DNA." "Do you have the acknowledgement?" the judge asked. Mr. Lyle handed it up. She frowned. "The notary date is 2 days before the discharge, and this bracelet doesn't match the hospital," Mr. Lyle stammered. Kelsey's chin wobbled. Evan stared at the floor. Mr. Patel slid our stills forward. Doorbell footage shows a swap at the threshold. The courtroom screens lit, Kelsey holding envelope A to the lens, then tucking it away and presenting envelope B. No audio, just the crisp certainty of video. "Possession stays with Mrs. Hale," Judge Romero said. "No lock changes, no entries without consent. As to paternity, the court will not rely on kitchen table paperwork. DNA testing of the infant, Mr. Evan Hale, and, if possible, a preserved sample from Mr. Thomas Hale's medical file. If not, we test the maternal grandparent. Swabs today. Results expedited." Kelsey's lawyer objected. The judge overruled. The deputy handed us orders and a map. Outside, Kelsey caught my sleeve. "You're cruel," she hissed. "He promised Evan. He said he wanted a son." "Thomas promised me 30 years ago," Mom said behind me, voice steady, "and he kept it." Evan finally met my eyes. His were raw. "I told Dad about our money problems," he muttered. "I never asked for this." "Then fix it," I said. We walked to the clinic. The nurse labeled kits, swabbed cheeks, and sealed envelopes. Noah slept. Evan's hands shook. Mom didn't flinch. On the way out, a bailiff stopped Kelsey from following us into the elevator. "Parties separate," he said. She pressed her mouth into a line and watched the doors close. Back home, I opened Dad's file cabinet. Behind tax returns sat a folder: house, title, notes. Inside, a USB drive in a zip bag and a note. "Nora, if anything happens, use this with Patel." I plugged it in. Porch. Dad had been downloading doorbell clips for months. Not just packages, conversations. There was Evan in July asking Dad for money. Kelsey's card is maxed again. There was Kelsey in August, smoothing her dress over her belly. "We're naming him Noah. Thought you'd want to know." Another clip. Evan alone, later, whispering, "She's going to pull something. I keep telling her no." Dad sighed. "Then be the no." I watched until the screen blurred. Dad had seen the edges of this storm and still left us ropes and anchors. At dusk, Mom and I ate toast. I taped the judge's order inside the front window. If anyone tried a locksmith again, they'd read case numbers before a hinge moved. My phone vibrated at 9:12 p.m. A number I didn't recognize. I almost let it ring out, then answered. "Ms. Hale," a woman said. "This is Officer Delaney with the County Fraud Unit. We received a tip about altered vital records involving your family. Are you available tomorrow for a brief statement?" I stared at the ceiling and counted to 5. "Yes," I said. "We'll be there." Mom sank into Dad's chair and closed her eyes. "When will this end?" "When truth shows up on paper," I said, "and it's already walking toward us." We slept in fragments. At 6:03 a.m., the clinic texted, "Samples in transit." At 7:41, Mr. Patel sent, "Status call, DNA timeline." At 8 o'clock, the doorbell chimed again. I froze at the stairs and opened the porch feed. Rain needled the stone. A shadow hovered just outside the frame, motionless, as if listening for breath on the other side. Next, a knuckle rapped once. I unlatched the chain and cracked the door. Evan stood there in the rain, hoodie dark with water, eyes swollen. He held up his phone so I'd see the screen. Recording. He swallowed. I'm here alone. I'm done letting this spin. I kept the storm door between us. Say it. He exhaled like he'd been underwater. Kelsey forged the acknowledgement. She had Jenna print a notary seal she found on Pinterest. She also... His mouth twitched. She bought a bracelet on Marketplace and switched bands in the car. She told me Dad promised to fix the line if the baby was a boy. He didn't. I was wrong to believe her. Mom stepped beside me. Where's Kelsey? Back at Jenna's, he said. She thinks I'm serving you with something. I'm not. I'm done. He held out Dad's spare house key on the leather tag. I don't want it like this. I opened the door just enough to take it. Tomorrow we get DNA, I said. Let truth talk. He nodded. I'll meet you there. Officer Delaney met us first. Interview in a beige office with a humming copier. We gave her the forged acknowledgement, the texts about the Photoshop plan, the Marketplace receipt for the bracelet Evan forwarded at my request, and Dad's porch clips. She took careful notes. If the lab confirms a mismatch, the DA will look at fraud, filing false instruments, maybe attempted unlawful eviction. Don't engage with Ms. Kelsey. Let paper do the speaking. By noon, the lab courier had our swabs. By 3, Judge Romero's clerk called. Results on Monday at 9. Be here. Monday, Department 12 was standing room only. Kelsey arrived in a cream dress with a ribboned birth certificate folder. Jenna hovered behind her, smaller than I remembered. Evan sat on our side, hands clasped so tightly his knuckles bleached. The judge read first. The hospital confirms. No notarization on any discharge letter. The notary listed on respondent's exhibit retired in 2019. She paused, then lifted the lab packet. DNA, the infant is not the biological child of Thomas Hale. Kelsey's chin jerked, and he is not the biological child of Evan Hale. A gasp fluttered through the gallery. My breath left my body in a hard, dizzying rush. Evan closed his eyes. Kelsey's lawyer stood. Your Honor, sit, counsel. The judge's voice went steel flat. The court finds that petitioner submitted altered documents and attempted to interfere with possession of the estate residence through deceit. She turned to Mom. Mrs. Hale, your possession is confirmed. A 2-year no-contact order will issue as to Ms. Kelsey regarding your home. To me, Ms. Nora Hale, you'll be primary point of contact for the estate. Any needed security upgrades are authorized. Then she faced Kelsey. You will surrender any keys or copies you have made. You will not present yourself at that address for any reason. Further, based on Officer Delaney's report and today's findings, I am referring this matter to the district attorney. She set the file down. This courtroom is not a stage for fantasies. It is a forum for facts. Kelsey sank into her chair. The ribbon slipped from her folder. Jenna dabbed at her eyes, then looked at us with something like apology. When it ended, Evan didn't move. I touched his sleeve. You knew it might say that. He swallowed. Knowing isn't the same as hearing. He stared at the floor. I can't fix what I believed. I can fix what I do next. Start with a statement, Officer Delaney said behind us, and a new phone passcode. Outside, a wind had cleared the rain off the courthouse steps. The air smelled like metal and wet leaves. Reporters waited, but we kept walking. In the lobby, Mom stopped at a memorial plaque with Dad's name from his civic award. She touched the brass. He always said a promise is a quiet thing, she murmured. Today felt quiet and true. That week, we changed locks, added a camera to the side gate, and put the orders in a bright red folder in the hall table drawer, right under Dad's old letter opener. Mr. Patel recorded copies at the clerk's office and flagged our address with dispatch. Officer Delaney emailed, referral sent. Later, she called to say Jenna had flipped early, handing over the Photoshop files and group chats. Kelsey was arraigned on misdemeanors first. The DA said additional counts could follow. I didn't attend. Paper could stand in for me. Evan came by to trim the hedges and take down the storm windows. He worked quietly, shoulders bent, penitent, and useful. When he finished, he stood at the gate, unsure. She used my worst fear, he said, that Dad loved me less than the son he never had, that if I brought him a grandson, I'd finally measure up. I met his eyes. You measure up by showing up. You did today. He nodded once. I'm staying with a friend. Meetings at 8, every morning. He forced a crooked smile. Apparently, telling the truth is a daily habit. Thanksgiving came bare and careful. We laid one place setting less and still cooked too much. During dessert, the doorbell chimed. I glanced at the monitor and stiffened, then relaxed. Not Kelsey. The delivery driver set down a small box. No return address, just my name in block print. Inside was Dad's old leather notebook I thought we'd lost. A sticky note in Evan's hand. Found in the garage rafters. For you. On the first page, Dad had written, keys to a house, hinges, gutters, stories, people. On the last, leave your home better than you found it. Leave your people safer than you met them. I closed the cover and breathed. December bled into early winter. The fraud case wound forward in slow, grinding clicks. Jenna pled out, Kelsey posted bond and went quiet. Evan kept showing up to mow, to replace a porch light, to sit with Mom and watch the late game. None of it erased the week he'd believed the worst, but it began to build something steadier than denial, a record of ordinary kindness. On the day the DA announced formal charges, the sky was the bright, brittle blue Dad loved. I stood on the porch with Mom, the new lock humming beneath my palm. The doorbell cam blinking, the red folder ready inside. Cars hissed past on wet pavement. Somewhere, a baby cried and then settled. Inside, the house smelled like coffee and lemon oil. The radiator ticked like a metronome. Do you feel done? Mom asked softly. Not done, I said, but anchored. I looked at the screen one last time, then out at the street where our family had stood and broken and righted itself. If anyone needs it, said plainly, grief is when opportunists test the locks. Don't argue in doorways. Document. Save texts. Secure cameras. Call counsel. Let paper speak. Boundaries are not cruelty. They're care. DNA and timelines beat tantrums. Forgiveness is optional. Safety is not. And if a brother wants back in, let his repairs talk louder than his apologies. They had tried to turn grief into a door-battering ram. They left with paperwork for court instead of keys. We kept the deed, yes, but what we truly kept was simpler and harder, a promise, a boundary, and a record that held when everything else tried to come apart.